Something that I've experienced for a long time has been this feeling of I am looking back to my past and I'm missing like who I once was or like how I once experienced life, because in my past I feel like I was more alive, or I was more certain of myself, less in my head, more in my life, more in my body, whatever. And I think that comes in the form of nostalgia. Like I'll think about like things that I used to do that would bring me a lot of comfort and like remind me of home, like foods that I would eat or like behaviors I would do that would make me feel like myself, because they reminded me of the past. And the thing that I'm really, really coming to like realize and know, and it's kind of amazing, is that it's not actually about those things that remind you of home. Like, it's not actually about like the type of like Carvel order I would order or the food that I would eat, the shows that I would watch, even like the ways that I would relate to other people, or like my personality in the past, or like the things I would find funny, the ways that I would like, relate and engage with people. It's not about those things in particular. I think that those things like trigger nostalgia in us and trigger memory, and those things make us feel more whole because it reminds us of like a part of us that we once were and that still exists on some level within us. But I don't think it's about like constantly going back to who we were, the people that we once were surrounded by, the hometown where we grew up in or whatever, to make us feel whole or alive or like ourselves. I really feel that when we are missing like ourselves and like the wholeness of us, I don't think that we're really missing like the past, or we're really missing those people or those places or those things. I think that can obviously be a part of it, but I think that a huge part that we miss, or that I've been missing, is like it's actually about in those moments in the past, how was I feeling? Like in those moments in the past, I was feeling like, in order to remember something so viscerally as the way that something tasted, or the way that someone made you feel, or like the seasons in that part of the world, like the physical weather, like how it felt on your skin, how sunsets felt like in your body, and like laughter and all those things, in order to have remembered it for all this time and for it to have like carved a part inside of your heart and inside of your memory, inside of your body, inside of your being, you had to have experienced it with enough like presence. Like you would have had to have been there enough. You would have had to have been like, your senses had to have been alive enough and available enough for you to have taken it in. Like, and also like your heart had to have been open enough to let in the moment and let in the love and let in those people, you know? Like sometimes I will think of like relationships that I've had in the past and people who are in my life, and I miss them, or I just like, but it really isn't that. It's not necessarily that I miss them, because I don't know them now. Like I know the core of who they are probably still, but it's more that I'm missing the opportunity to experience relationships in that way, to that depth that I once did. Because if I open my heart now, and it's not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to just decide to open my heart, but like if you recognize that your heart has been like boundaried and there's been walls up since like the past, which like oftentimes for me and I know for other people, when we look back to our past, we look back to like our childhood, our like adolescence, like high school years, college years, whatever, we're much more like unarmored than we are postgraduate, like post college, and just like into adulthood. Like we have to, it's like natural to have so much more armor around our hearts than we once did. So I think that when we look back to our past, we're not necessarily like missing those things. We're missing the ways that our heart was open to life. Life in and of itself, when you open your heart to life in general, you start to remember things from the past. Like it starts to feel like home to you. Because in my perspective, like the thing that we're searching for, like home that we're searching for, is really just like the wide breadth of existence, like breadth, like that depth and breadth of life. It's like experiencing the richness of like the different textures of life, the many different like layers of life. And I think that when we search for things and we search for home and feelings of home, it's always about opening our hearts enough to experience life before us right in this moment. Because home is always available to us. Life is always available to us to feel the like many different like waves and feelings that life right before us in this moment has to offer. If you were to take like a psychedelic substance like mushrooms or something, like in my experience, that like opens your heart and like opens your senses, and it literally like connects many different parts of like your neural pathways. So it actually opens your mind to experience, like to have more capacity and to experience life in different perceptions and deeper layers, and like have more access to like perception and experiencing reality than you usually would. So why I bring that up is because just the nature of being a human being, we have to armor in some way. And it's not like conscious. It's more like a survival mechanism because of the way that our bodies are. Because like it's known that our bodies can't perceive every single thing going on in reality. Like we can't perceive like the molecules in front of us, like because they're microscopic, and we can't see like sound waves like coming out of my mouth and like traveling into the air. I don't know why, but there's so many things happening like just within our reality that we can't see, or that like our perception and our senses don't pick up on. And it's like, I think one of the reasons is because our bodies need to filter based on our capacity. Like we don't have the capacity to process and perceive everything going on. So our bodies and our beings like only like limit and filter so that we're not like constantly overwhelmed. Like I think that we would like combust. And I think that on a scientific level is that, but I also think if we're looking at it through a spiritual lens and like a godly lens, like, and if we see God and life as almost synonyms of one another, then we know that we couldn't possibly fathom what God is, because we wouldn't be able to comprehend it, and it's beyond anything that we could comprehend through this like vessel of like our brains and through our bodies and all of that. I believe that as human beings, we have a limited capacity to experience like reality as it truly is, or like God as he truly is. And but I think that our capacity like widens and opens and closes just throughout different factors in our day, throughout different points in our lives, and I believe that if it's your intention throughout your life, your capacity will grow and you'll be able to hold more, which often requires you to like change, which I think is what the initiation into adulthood is things are not as like easy or simple or black and white as they once were. They're now much more nuanced because you're holding much more of the truth of reality, which is like less than comprehensible. And you have to just feel comfortable swimming in the things that don't make sense and everything that exists at once. We can yearn and long for times that were more like intense and clarifying and sharp and like when your emotions were just like, I feel this, like more absolute and black and white and easy to understand and like more alive in a way. But I think that they're always just like ebbs and flows. Like when we expand, our capacity expands, we contract as well. Like it's literally like a breath. Like when we breathe in, our lungs expand, and we breathe out, they contract. And I think that that's kind of how our capacity works as well, and how we experience life. Like in some moments we experience deeper depths, and in others we don't have the capacity to do that. And I believe it's like mostly out of our control. Like we make decisions and those are in our control as much as like we know that they are. But I think it's more so about like being with and accepting like the things you can't control and that you can't understand. And I think for me, that practice is more important than trying to control my capacity. Yeah. When we are in this like threshold of adulthood, or just through the different stages in our lives that kind of like ask us to grow, I think we can look back to past versions and yearn for times that felt more alive, and we are comparing ourselves to past versions of ourselves, or we're comparing the way life felt in the past to how it feels now. And I don't necessarily think it's about going back. Right now probably requires something different, or you've changed and you genuinely want to spend your time doing different things, eating different things, relating to people in a different way. And that's still you, even if it feels unfamiliar to you. Really, what we're missing is our hearts. I think as we get older, it can be easy to kind of adopt this mentality that like, oh, life as we're younger is just more vibrant and we're more untouched by life, and we won't feel like as alive as we once felt. And maybe it's true. Like childhood is something special. I don't think it's something that we will necessarily get to experience again. Like that way of like first interacting with the world. But I don't believe that, I was just talking to my friend about this, like I don't believe that life stops feeling alive and we should just like settle for a life that you feel complacent and comfortable in just because you're an adult now. I think that your spirit can always be like renewed in a way and like wiped clean. And that's kind of a different conversation that relates to like some, like in spiritual traditions and some religions and stuff, they talk about that in particular. And we can talk about that later. But I do believe that's possible because I've experienced it before. But I do believe that as an adult, you can feel like a kid again and you can feel alive again. And I think it has more to do with your heart and how that gets renewed and how that gets kind of like healed, basically. The heart is such like a powerful like organ, like energetically, like it's so powerful on so many different like levels and layers. Yeah, I just wanted to share that. Yeah, like you're not actually really missing the past. You're missing your own heart. You're missing your own self. Like you're missing feeling whole within yourself. You're not really missing the past. You're missing the way that you used to relate to life. In those moments when you have a lot of capacity and you feel really whole, or you feel open, the past and memories for me just start arising in the present. And I think it's because it almost is like the memory of something and the present of something, there's something similar about them, and they meet up and they remind each other of something, and it kind of like ties in like parts of you, and it like helps bridge the disconnect of like feeling far away from yourself to being like, oh, I actually like used to feel this, or I use this interaction is just reminding me of this person or whatever. And yeah. Yeah, as someone who's like super nostalgic and like always digging into memories and stuff to feel like home, like my internal sense of home, but also like people that remind me of home, I think it's you are always traveling with your home, like your heart. It sounds so like cliche, but your heart holds everything you've ever experienced. Like every memory you've ever had is in your heart. Everything you've ever felt is held in your heart, and you take that with you. And I think that the more that you spend time with your heart, and the more that you like let yourself feel the things maybe from the past that you haven't really been intimate with yourself, or like the more that you just like are with your heart in the present moment, I think the more at home you will actually feel. So it's not necessarily that you're trying to go back to eat the same ice cream you used to eat as a kid, watch the same movies, or blah, blah, blah. I think you're really just searching for a time that maybe in your life, when you were experiencing those things, your heart was more open and tender and available. And yeah, you can do that today still, now. Making like new memories and like adding to the wholeness of who you are, and like allowing yourself to develop in new ways, like still feeling like yourself, because your heart is like unchanged. Like it will remain unchanged. Like wherever your heart is kind of like what it's needing right now and what it's drawing you towards, it almost like will bring you into this like circular like envelope of like you know? Yeah, I don't know. That's my theory. And yeah, the deeper you go into your heart, the more at home you'll feel. I feel. So happy traveling on your way home. As Ram Dass says, we're all just walking each other home. Bye.